Well, hi there, it's me again, Mishka, and we're back again for I Am. And last week we talked about I Am, and I said to you that the second series of I Am, we are looking at the impact of I Am on those around us, on our environment, and on those that are close to us. Remember when we spoke about I Am, and we talked about our fingerprint that's unique? And then I said to you that it's my firm opinion that everybody's got their own unique purpose. Because why is it that we would all have, remember, a different look? We would be so unique in everything else, but we would have the same purpose or very similar purposes. And there's such a beauty in this when we go into it. Now, purpose, the very interesting thing about purpose, I'd like to take it a step further today, is purpose is almost always about what is around me and who is around me, not about me. You see, purpose starts in me, and that is what I need to go and do. So that thing that makes you tick, that thing that really makes you feel like, wow, I'm in this really good spot now. This is who I am. It's very often that's your purpose starting to come through, and that's the purpose, your purpose talking to you. So, because what does it help? We talk about purpose and we've got a unique purpose, but we don't know how to discover that. It's exceptionally important that we find out, especially in these sessions, how do I discover that? Now, it's very, very, very imperative at this time when I talk to you about the I am and the impact of I am on those around me, which we are focusing on in this series, to look specifically at purpose. Because you see, when we discover our purpose, when we know what is that unique purpose that's lying inside of me, then I will understand and see myself, with other people around me. Now, last week we focused on me and my spouse and how important is that. And I'd like to say to you today, I'm definitely going to continue on that because there wasn't enough said. How can there ever be enough said about that one? It's the closest person possibly, I think, to most people would be your spouse. But let's talk about that purpose again. You see, how do I reflect my purpose? How do I show what I'm really made for? Unless I have those around me. You see, other people bring out my purpose. That the I am that's inside of us is normally something that answers to the environment around us. Why am I saying that? Let me put it into something pretty simple. Let's talk about somebody whose purpose it is to, for instance, be in business. You've got a passion for business and that's your life. You feel like when you're there, you're just like a fish in water and you can just do this. You love doing business. Now, a person that has that ability and has that purpose inside of them, unless they're exposed to the business environment, they will not start to respond. You see, because you need something to stimulate purpose. Something from the outside will stimulate that response from our inside. That is why the I am is so important, that we understand who we are. Because the moment we are now being put into a situation where it's not just ourselves anymore, which is most of the time, really, hardly ever it's just us. There's always somebody, there's always something happening. We are all put in environments. Then we start to realize, okay, am I in the right environment? Am I positioned correctly? You see, we've got choices. Life is all about choices. You and I very hardly ever are in places that we didn't choose somewhere along the line. And it's sad that sometimes people have a victim mentality and they sit in positions that they really don't have to be in. You see, we can choose where we want to be. You and I have a choice where we're going to end up. And I'd like to say to you that if you become very sensitive to that I am inside of you, remember, we realize who we are. What do we do? What makes us tick? What is that person inside of us? Now, once we step into certain environments, we will start to realize, is this where I should be? Does this stimulate my purpose? Does this stimulate the I am inside of me? We talked about it last week that we're all this piece of a puzzle. And unless, if you've got this separate piece, this one piece, on its own, it's just a piece of a puzzle. It doesn't mean anything. But once we put it with the rest of the pieces, it starts to make one beautiful picture. Now that is now where we need to start to find out, what is my purpose? That is where we start to find out where I should be. You know, sometimes there's just this dull feeling. I just know that one person can walk into your life. You could have been 1,000 others, millions of other people that would come into your life. Why is it that people just sort of, even in a relationship, even in a spouse and a husband and wife relationship, like we spoke about last week, which is the closest that we can get to that first person that should be closest to that person, to that purpose inside of us. Why is it that some people just spark that? You know, you can really speak to how many different people, and they are there. You know that there's some part of the puzzle somewhere, isn't it? But then there's that specific person that when they speak to you, or when they speak into your life and you start to speak to them and you start to they become part of your life, that person stimulates purpose inside of you. See how beautiful it is? See how beautiful it is when we understand these things, that we will also think differently about rejection. Because when I am in a relationship with somebody and purpose keeps on being rejected, and somebody doesn't honor that, and somebody doesn't stimulate that in me, and I'm not saying that person should become me, because that's absolutely impossible. That's exactly what's so beautiful about being unique, and being the purpose inside of us is different. But I do believe that we should be able to honor that in one another. I should be able to see the I am in that person that I love. And this goes to our children. This is not just husband and wife, but can you see I'm starting to move out into our full environment? Because if we can effectively have this with the people close to us. Now you may not be married, you may not have a partner, you may not have even children. But you will have somebody close to you. And that person closest to you, I'd like to say to you today, that is where you need to start with I am, and finding out the purpose. Possibly that is the person that will stimulate and get I am out, and find out, what is my unique purpose? How do I respond to situations? We must never neglect to think and be sensitive of what's happening inside of us when we are put into situations. Your response and my response is very often a sign of something. Now, it can be negative, because sometimes our brains have been programmed in a way by experiences or things people said. That's negative, and I don't want to focus on that, but I do like to say to you, that should never stop us from finding our purpose. The negative needs to be dealt with. But there are certain things, trigger points, that if somebody starts to talk about it or something happens, you either get that joy in your heart and you think, this is what I want to do. This excites me. I really, really feel this is the place for me. When that same person can talk to somebody else and that person thinks, really? What are you talking about? I just want to fall asleep. So that's nothing wrong with the person that's speaking, can you see? But the person that's speaking and the person that's on the other side is drawing something out of us. And that's the people we should surround ourselves with. If somebody just draw bad out of you, I don't know, you need to start to say, maybe I should stop the bus a little bit there. Or if they draw something bad out of us, we might have to just go back and say, what's going on inside of me? I need to deal with this thing as well. So that's not always negative. But that's how we choose our environment. That's how we start to position ourselves. I believe that we have to start to live lives that are strategically planned and positioned. If we want to be happy, it's a choice. Now, we sometimes are flippant about life, and we think, oh, well, that's it. I'll just sort of live here or stay here or do that job or, fall in love, whatever. And that's a very reckless way to think about it. I believe that if we want to have successful lives, that's what makes the difference between a person that's truly successful, person that's consistently growing, a person that will consistently go forward, person that's consistently making a difference in other people's lives. That's the difference between them and somebody that would just never go there. And very often these people, the people that won't be successful, are very jealous or upset or whatever. But understand, it takes effort, it takes skill, it takes a decision, it takes discipline to live a successful life. And that's why I'm talking to you. I'm not here to talk to you just about life. I'm talking to you about successful life. And success, many people say success is relevant to who you are, and I agree with them. But there is one thing, as much as people can say success is relevant to who you are, it's interesting that everybody, doesn't matter who you are, recognizes success, whether you like it or not. When you see someone successful, you may not see every part of their life, but success has got a way of reflecting. You can see it. It draws people. Why does everybody celebrate it? Now, I'm not talking about, people can't fail. I'm not talking about how people get there, because most people who are successful work exceptionally hard to get there. Most people that are successful are the ones, the athletes that we honor. Those are the ones that's up early, man. They there. Those are the things that we don't see. Success is the end result of a lot of effort. So when I talk about purpose, when I talk about the I am, I want to encourage you to say, don't ever underestimate that you've got the power over your own life to make decisions. We become victims so easily of situations. We blame everybody. It's so easy to blame. The moment we blame somebody, we've just lost control. We've just actually said, it's not my life, I've just surrendered it. So being successful and learning how to take the I am inside of me to lead a successful life takes effort. It takes being sensitive. It takes being right here, thinking the right things, understanding when I interact with people, who are the ones that's going to draw out of me my purpose? Who are the ones that would not want to see my purpose come, because it's going to happen? People are threatened very often by purpose, and it's nothing wrong with them. They just simply don't know their own. Because anybody who knows their own purpose and it is so comfortable in it will not be threatened by anybody else. But living your purpose and finding out your unique purpose, it's going to make you stand out from the rest of the crowd. It's going to take a little bit of effort. It's going to be that extra edge, When I talk about us dealing with those people around us, and last week I mentioned that, these puzzle pieces and how they just fit. Yes. But in life, we realize that people also, have to sort of shape each other. I go back to the example I always use of us going to the gym, for instance, or exercising. It is against gravity then. Things are happening that is not just like plain sailing. And it's not always the people in our lives that tell us that everything is okay and you are just so good. It's not always those people that bring out our purpose. It is the people who are willing to look at us with a different eye. It's a person that can see and honor the fact that there's purpose inside of you. If we would only live a life that would realize that any person standing or sitting opposite me has an absolute beautiful, unique purpose. That purpose is so explosive. There should be so much more honor in our hearts towards those we live with. Because once I see that, once I start to get into my own spot, once I understand my own purpose, I will also realize that part of it is to bring out the purpose in someone else. You see, that's the highest form, I believe, of satisfaction, is when you come to a place when we realize that I am inside of me has to see the I am inside of you. That is the place. How do I get you to come into that place? How do I live? Now, let's talk again, relationship-wise. Because I want to look at all the different phases of society and how do I impact that? If I just know my purpose, if I understand the I am, what impact the I am can make. But let's go back to the closest again, because that's the first, that we start here at home. How do I influence and how do I impact that spouse or that child or that person that's so close to me? How do I impact them? How do I help them to get the I am factor inside of them to start to just bloom, to come out? What do I say? What do I do? How do I shape? How do I guide? How do I direct? How do I celebrate them? What do I think about them? What, you see, now, unless we understand the I am inside of me, I would really find it exceptionally difficult to celebrate the I am in you. And that is what makes life so much more worth it. That is when things start to fall into place. It's not always easy. It's the worst thing in the world. I don't know about you, but it's sometimes very hard for me, especially when you're going through a difficult time, because none of us live lives that are just easy. So the very first thing that we tend to do is to go inward. We like to see ourselves. We want to be, it's actually me, myself, and I. That's just the way we are. That's normal. It's not right, but it's normal. So we're going to go back. We backtrack into that whole situation. If I want to protect myself, it's about me. It's about everything. But it is that time when I feel and understand that I'm comfortable with who I am inside of me. And I can step out of it. And I can start to take you. And I can start to stimulate you. And I can understand that you're the other part of this puzzle. But I need to take your hand. I need to encourage you. I need to comfort you. I need to make sure that you're going to be okay. I need to make sure that I understand my purpose connects with yours. I need to understand my purpose does not compete with yours, but we complete each other. That's that puzzle. I've never seen two pieces the same. They have to compete. They complete. Now, when we see that and when we start to live like that, we start to become closer to a society that starts to care about one another again. It starts to make sure the one next to me is actually going to be okay. So that is how powerful it is that we understand who I am is, who I am inside of me is. And more importantly, it's important for me to start with that treasure hunt of who the I am is and the one I love. Until next week, from me, goodbye.